Okay, hello everybody. Hello to those who are watching now. And if you're watching us later, feel free to put a little hashtag replay in the comments so I can see, or we can see who's watched and who is asking questions. So for those who are new to the Hormone Harmony group, my name is Sandrine Olmi. I'm a registered nutritional therapist, and I've created this little group to really help women manage their hormones naturally and just find all these different activity therapies and that can help us relieve a bit of stress in our lives. And today we've got a lovely lady called Kendall who is a gardening for wellbeing expert. Welcome, Kendall.
Thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here.
Fantastic. So, if anyone is watching and you want to put some comments in, please feel free. You may need to allow StreamYard to share your comments so that we can see who is actually here. So I can see someone just said, hi, hello. I can't see who that is, but hello, you're very, very welcome. Thank you for joining us live. It's really exciting to have people watching. I can see two people watching actually. So yeah, if you just click at the top of the screen and say allow StreamYard to share your comments, then we can say a personal hello. So, and just a little recap in terms of what I do. So I help women manage their hormones naturally. So I do that by basically looking at food, of course, but also looking at specific supplements. That there's some wonderful herbs out there that can help manage hormones naturally. So if you suffer from PMS, if you suffer from hormonal imbalance like PCOS, endometriosis, anything like that, then nutritional therapy can truly help. And also, what I have realized, not only just with myself, but with lots of clients, is that stress has such an impact on hormone balance. And I'm sure, Kendall, you've come across lots of ladies who are looking to reduce their stress. Is that why you created your business?
Yeah, so I initially started gardening because I had a garden. So actually, it wasn't that I was looking for anything particular to reduce my stress. I think at that point in my life, I was so stressed that that I didn't even realize I was stressed, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
I just started to garden because I was like, well, the garden needs to be done. No one else is going to do it. But I very quickly realized that actually when I was out in my garden, that was the only time where where my brain was quiet and it wasn't like constantly thinking about, do that next task, or God, I've got that big work meeting coming up, or must remember to add that to the shopping list. My brain actually was calm, which was not really something that I'd experienced before. And then as I spent more time out there, I realized that actually having that kind of headspace and that time and that quiet time for my brain was really beneficial because it allowed me to process, feelings around challenging situations I was having in my life. So, which historically I kind of just buried and carried on, as I think many of us do. And yeah, so to start with, it was literally just something that was for me. And then I started to think, I had my little girl actually, and I started to think to myself, I used to work in the forensics industry, which was obviously quite high stress, and not good for your mental health, given all the sort of stuff you're exposed to. And I started to think, I don't think I want to do this for the rest of my life. I think I want to do something that helps women more. I think becoming a mum to a little girl kind of really made me think about her future and how probably that I'd led my life up until then, like basically always being stressed. And I started to think to myself, well, I don't want her to have that. I don't want her to have that pressure of, always having to achieve and strive for the next thing, and like that, this kind of real hustle culture, which I'd really got myself into. So I started to think, well, what skills have I got? Well, I can't really teach, teaching people how to be a forensic scientist is not really going to help them to reduce their stress. But this gardening thing is working so well for me. I want to bring it to more women. So I started initially just doing workshops. So I'd actually, when I was at university, I worked on a florist school. So I'd learned floristry, self-taught, and the ladies on the school sort of taught me as well. So I started initially by doing Christmas wreath courses. And I thought, well, everybody likes to kind of get involved in Christmas wreaths.
Mm-hmm.
And then over time that grew, and I was like, well, how about if I could teach people to grow things to include in, Christmas wreaths, or I'm just about to do some spring wreath workshops this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I could teach them how to combine like the growing and then the creative element in the floristry as well, but all of it with a mindful relaxation element to it. So yeah, it's just kind of grown from there, and as businesses do, it's evolved. I work with clients one-to-one now on their individual gardens, and then obviously I've got the Mindful Gardening Club as well. So yeah, it's just kind of really grown into something that I kind of didn't think of when I started. When I started, I was like, oh, I'm just going to try this and see how it goes, and then it went well. So I was like, oh, I wonder where else I could go with this. So yeah.
Fantastic. So so what are the kind of people that come to you then and ask for your help, would you say?
So generally, they tend to be women, generally kind of like early 30s to mid 40s.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them have children, but not exclusively. Some of them have like very intense jobs.
Okay.
That's kind of like their baby, but all of them are looking for something to help them to escape that kind of, overwhelmed, busy, stressful life that many of them, live all the time. They feel like they don't have anything that's for them, because so often they're giving everything to either a job and children and partner and, everyone else around them. And many of them therefore struggle with stress and anxiety. Mm-hmm. And they are really looking for something that can kind of help them to sort of start to slow down a little bit and give themselves little bits of time for them. And initially, you might think, oh, but gardening, like that takes hours, because I think people have viewed gardening historically as, something that you do when you're retired and you've got tons of time. But absolutely. What I tell my clients is that actually, you just need 5 minutes a day, because a garden doesn't have to be this huge, vast green space with loads of plants and borders. It can be a few pots outside your back door, but there's something to tend and something that, lights you up when you see it. So, that's kind of where I get a lot of people to start. It's like, right, let's create some planters for either side of your door. So when you come home from your stressful job, or you come home on the school run, having had a row on the way home with a small child, you get home and you see those pots, which are very often full of sensory plants, because I, incorporate the sensory a lot in the work that we do. And, just the smell, eventually just the smell of those flowers growing is enough to kind of just bring you down from that like to a much calmer place. So yeah.
Fantastic. So what would you suggest to someone who hasn't got a garden, hasn't got much, outside space?
Yeah, and this does happen. So like I said, either side of the front door is great. Mm-hmm. You can have pots, or if you really have literally no outside space that you feel comfortable putting anything in, you can always grow on the windowsill as well. So there's quite a few, especially like veggie varieties, a lot of especially in lockdown, I think a lot of the growers realized that people were wanting to have this connection with nature, so they started to bring out varieties of windowsill tomatoes, basically. So they're really poor tomato varieties that, provided you've got a sunny windowsill that you can give to them, then you can grow on your windowsill throughout, the summer. Herbs obviously is a great one. I know you spoke about herbs, and actually, so probably the herbs that people are thinking of, like coriander, parsley, etc. You can use them in cooking, but I know probably you work with a lot of slightly different herbs. Actually, I worked with a herbalist last year because I was struggling to get pregnant because I was stressed and my hormone levels were all over the place. So exactly what you do, I imagine. And some of the herbs that then she recommended for me, because she did is it a Dutch test? Does that make sense?
Yes.
And some of the herbs that she recommended for me were slightly spurious, i.e. not your kind of run-of-the-mill, you wouldn't find them in the garden centre. But I did actually manage to find some of the varieties online and actually grew them to have them for myself, which was actually really good. Yeah. So I kind of combined those two. Say again, sorry.
Did you make tea with those herbs?
Yeah, tea, kind of dried them and made tea, yeah, which I'll be honest, did not taste that delightful. I am a fan of the old English breakfast, but, you know, means to an end, and I'm happy to say that I'm now pregnant, so it kind of worked. It rebalanced my hormones and kind of let me get to the stage where, you know, my body was back in balance, so I could actually then conceive, which is what we were trying to do. Yeah, so actually, I'm a real kind of success story, I guess, and it wasn't just the herbs. Obviously, I was trying to eat better and having a lot of kind of broccoli and spinach and all that, those kind of greens, which, you know, I think when you're busy and you've got a busy job and small children, it's easy to reach for the easy food and not necessarily nourish the body. So it was actually really, really useful for me to work with her, and then to be like, oh well, brilliant! I can grow all these things in my garden, and then there's no air miles or anything on these because I'm literally cutting them from right outside my back door. So it was really nice to kind of do that in combination.
Oh, wow. What an amazing story. Wow, that's amazing. So when is your baby due?
Due early May, so not long at all.
Wow. Okay. Oh, super exciting. Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Brilliant. So tell us a little bit about your membership then. What does it entail? What do people get if they join? And where do they find you?
Okay, so the membership is called the Mindful Gardening Club. And really, it was born out of the fact of, I obviously work with clients one-to-one on their specific gardens, but not everybody, you know, has that level of investment to work with me one-to-one, and not actually everybody wants that, specific advice necessarily on their garden. And I also really felt in the pandemic that, you know, as women, we were becoming more and more isolated. You know, we couldn't see people. There was a real need from chatting to my community to create this kind of online community where people could come and share, you know, struggles in the garden, obviously, but also struggles in life without any judgment, because I think, you know, social media can be such a judgmental place. And I really wanted to create this safe space. So I thought to myself, well, I've got all of these techniques that I use with one-to-one clients. I can definitely kind of distill them into a course. So I put together, I call it my signature gardening and floristry for wellbeing course. And it's basically broken down into month-by-month pieces that leads you through the growing season. So last month, for example, was sowing seeds, because this month actually, because we're still in March, aren't we? So March is traditionally the time when you would start to sow seeds. So there's a couple of like short sort of videos that people can watch, and then midway through the month we then have like a live coaching session. So people that have tried, you know, maybe sowing seeds and things haven't germinated and they want to ask questions, they can bring them along to the live session and we can kind of troubleshoot on the session, and they can other things about their garden as well to that session, and, you know, ask my advice. So whilst they're not getting literally like me in their garden, they are getting bespoke advice on the things that they're struggling with. And then obviously that community element. So, you know, quite a few members sort of come along to the session and, you know, just chat about gardens. There's other things, because invariably as women, you know, we might have struggled to sow any seeds yet that month. And so we might want to chat about why that is. In fact, a couple of people, you know, have been unwell in the club this month. So they've been sort of sharing their frustrations of like, oh, I really want to get sowing my seeds and I haven't been able to because I haven't been well. So it's just a really nice supportive place. And the key to it is really that it's not too overwhelming, because I think with so many, you know, with gardening, often it's watching endless YouTube videos or reading loads of books, and there's so much information that when you don't have a lot of space in your head already, that can just kind of paralyze you from actually getting started. So it really is kind of designed to be bite-sized little pieces that are only delivered to you as and when you need them through the growing season.
Right.
And then towards the end of the summer, once, you know, people have started harvesting things from their garden, I'm going to be introducing some floristry elements as well. So actually teaching them how to then use the flowers that they've grown, for example, in arrangements. So yeah, so there's going to be that brought in as well, and all of it is with a well-being element. So all of my techniques are designed to help you to get into that kind of flow state and that calm as quickly as possible, because I recognize that many people don't have hours to garden. So the techniques that I've devised they kind of collapse that timeline, if you will, and allow you, even if you've just got 5 minutes, to do something that's going to benefit your garden, but also is just going to give you that little bit of like breathing space, so you can kind of be like, oh, right, okay, reset, re-energize, and I can get back on with my day now.
Wow. So what would be a typical 5 minutes little exercise? Would you have an example to share that you?
Yeah, sure. So if you're going from seeds, a really great one is checking on your seedlings. So especially, you know, not that many people have greenhouses. And so they could well be growing on windowsills initially at this time of year, because let's face it, it's freezing, isn't it? It's just hailed here and been snowing this morning. So hopefully everyone's still got everything safely inside on the windowsills. But what can happen when you grow seeds on a windowsill, because they only really get light from that one side, is they will grow towards the light. Okay, so this is just something really simple that you can do every day, like maybe while you're having a cup of tea in the morning, and you just go and you check your seedlings. First of all, you check to see if they need any water. So you can just use your finger to do that, and you just dip your finger or poke your finger down, probably to like the second knuckle there, into the soil. If it feels dry, then it needs water. If it feels wet at the bottom, then it's still got enough water, so don't overwater it. It's a classic. The reason you shove your finger down is because if you just look at the top surface of the soil, that will always be the driest place, right? Because the water will evaporate from there first. But actually, the top can look very dry, but there is quite a lot of water underneath. So this is where a lot of people kind of make the odd mistake. So that's really simple, really quick one. And then obviously, if the seedlings are bending towards the light, you can just turn them 90 degrees, and then they will start. And if you just do that every day, you will start to get nice straight seedlings rather than those slightly wonky regular seedlings that just look a bit spindly and not very well. So that will take you probably even less than 5 minutes, but it's really tuning into your senses, using your sense of touch on your finger, using your sense of sight to see if the seedlings are kind of moving towards it. And, you know, if you're going something fragrant like herbs, there'd be no reason why you couldn't kind of run your fingers through the seedlings and get that lovely smell of the coriander or the parsley or whatever you're growing. So, yeah, it's just a really simple little thing to kind of ground you in the moment.
Fantastic. Oh wow, I used to have an allotment, but then didn't have time to look after it. So now I've we've had work in the house, and last year, so didn't do any gardening last year because it was just a building site. And this year I'm finding it difficult to get back into it. So I think some of your tips sounds really amazing, to start really small with just a few pots and then kind of build from that. Sounds like a
or just, you know, just do one. If you've got lots of borders, just do one border and get that looking really, really good, you know, and build your confidence again and get back into the flow of it. And then you can move on to the next thing. You know, I think as well, especially if you've had building work done, you might find that you start to use the garden slightly differently. So you might have all these grand plans in your head about what you want to do, but actually, if you allow yourself to take the time and be in the garden and really connect with that space and do it over time, I think you will get more pleasure out of it in the long run, because it will be really adapting to your needs as a family or, you know, a partnership that you live with. So, and your needs as the gardener as well, because I think, you know, we get so much from our gardens. It's not just like food, flowers, etc. Emotionally, they allow us to, you know, feel really connected with nature, which I think, you know, is so key, especially as women. we're so on the way our bodies work is so connected with nature. And I think for many of us, we've really become disconnected because we spend so much time, watching the TV or on our phones or rushing around. So actually, just to allow yourself even just that 5 minutes every day, which I know, that seems like a lot, but once you start to do it and you make that kind of healthy habit, that time you will find will grow. So most days now I manage it only about 20 minutes. And obviously when new baby arrives, this may go out the window, but I will be making sure I get my 5 minutes, because actually the minute I don't do that, I feel it. I can feel my stress levels starting to rise. I can feel the anxiety growing. And I know if I don't even really need to do a check-in with myself, because I know the reason, and it's because I haven't just been getting outside just for 5 minutes. Yeah. Obviously, it's easier to get outside when the weather's nice, but I actually garden all year round because I really miss that connection. So yeah,
it's fantastic.
That is always my bottom line, because you go out and you see this big space and you're like, oh my god, I don't even know where to start. So just pick one little area and get going on that.
Baby steps. And it's the same in a way with nutrition. When people come and talk to me, I don't usually ask people to totally change their diet, because it's not realistic. It is about making these small changes and adding maybe a few ingredients on the plate that you would normally have, and just see how you can tweak things. But baby steps, and then building on that. So now I can and thank you for the tip about learning how we use our garden now that the extension is done. And my husband was really keen to just get patio done, and I'm like thinking, actually we've got these nice big doors, and do I want to stare at some concrete outside those doors, just looking at a patio? Because the bushes come quite close to the house at the moment, so we need to rearrange that, but still don't know yet how. But I like seeing the greenery quite close to those big windows. So living in it, I think this summer, to see how we use it, and then maybe next year rearranging. And is it good?
I think it's really key not to rush. Like I have a lot of clients actually that come to me and they go, oh, well, we had our garden redesigned by somebody, but actually I don't really know what I'm to do with it, or how I'm to take care of it, or because it's somebody else's ideas and it's somebody else's interpretation of what you want. And actually for me, I think it's so powerful to be materially involved in that creation, and the only way that you can do that is by actively using the garden. If you're lucky enough to have a garden space, and not all of us obviously do, you might as well utilize that for your own well-being benefit, rather than just having a blank canvas that so many people have. I've got a little girl, and I'll be honest, the day I had to give in and allow a climbing frame to be put in the garden nearly broke my heart. But obviously it's her garden as well, but I don't think that you need to give the entire garden over to the children. Like you are entitled to claim a little bit of that land that's for you. And actually, I think if you choose to do that, you will really feel so much more connected to your house and your garden, because you'll have that kind of little almost sanctuary that's just you. And even if that is a chair, a little table that you can have a coffee on, and a few pots sat around you, that's your space. That's your kind of safe environment that you can go to, maybe feeling overwhelmed and stressed and just needing something to bring you back down. So
it's like almost an additional room in the house, almost, isn't it? You just and having a bit of a habit, a bit of a ritual, going out, as you said, maybe with a cup of tea and a book or a magazine or something, and have those 5 minutes.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Wow, that is so interesting. Absolutely interesting. And it's quite simple when you think about it. It doesn't have to be very complicated. You don't have to grow fancy plants. It can be really simple things. What are your favorite things to grow in your garden at the moment?
So for me, I always loved, I mainly started gardening to grow flowers, because I was like, I trained as a florist, and I was like, I want to, my day job was stressful, so I wanted to have a bit of creative time. So when I first started, I was like, right, I'm going to grow loads of flowers. But then obviously, you know, recently with increasing prices in food, and obviously I spoke to you about the hormonal stuff, I wanted to make sure that I was nourishing my body. And I thought, well, what a better way than to literally grow it myself. So so I still grow lots of flowers. Like dahlias are my absolute favorite. I love them. They're different and brightly colored. I love bright colors. And I also love roses as well because they're so scented and they're just very quintessentially English, which for me, you know, I'm an English girl. I live in an old cottage. Like you kind of just feel like you've got to have some roses, right? And then veg wise, it really depends. Like I always grow tomatoes because my little one just loves eating them, and we eat both. So I always say to grow veg wise, grow what you can eat. I am actually for the first time ever this year growing some like mini cucumbers, you know, those snack ones.
Yes.
Generally, I don't grow cucumbers because I think you can get them for so cheap in the supermarket, and they're very water heavy. They need to be watered a lot in order to do well. Obviously, from an environmental point of view, I don't like to use more water than Mother Nature gives us if I can help it. But I am growing some of those this year because I think they'll be like a nice fun thing to grow with my little girl. And then I'm going to be growing some broccoli. I've got a few different varieties of broccoli that I'm going to grow because I really like broccoli. I think it's very good for you. I always grow beetroot as well. So that is really good. I do grow lettuce, but I'll be honest, like it's a bit hit and miss. Last year we had it away when it was pretty much ready. So by the time I got home, I was like, and carrots as well. So I do a lot of we do a lot of juicing. So we always have like a fresh juice in the morning just for hydration purposes. So so I try and grow as many carrots as I can as well. But as ever, it's space, isn't it? You know, and I've got to kind of it's the space I've got with all the things that I want to grow. But yeah, so yeah.
Brilliant. And then we have pets. We've got cats. So I have to put things in the pot to make sure they don't go in them.
But we do have a lot of neighbourhood cats that like to come around, which does my head in a little bit. I'll be honest. Your own, you're kind of a bit more tolerant, aren't you? But yeah, and obviously this time of year I'm growing. I do try and grow a lot for the workshops that I'm doing. So at the minute I've got a lot of spring bulbs popping up because I'm going to be we're going to be incorporating those in the living spring wreaths that we're going to be making this weekend on my courses. And then over the summer, I'll be growing flowers that I can then dry because towards the end of the summer, I'm going to be doing some dried flower wreath workshops. So I'm always kind of thinking about how I can connect my growing space with the business as well, because obviously that's such a key part of my life and how I want to help women. And ultimately, I want women to come to those workshops and be like, wow, I've made this beautiful thing out of these dried flowers. I wonder if next year I might have the confidence to try and grow some of those myself. So there's always that kind of like connectivity there, because I think that's such a key thing.
Beautiful. What a lovely thing to do. Yeah, sounds amazing. And I take it your workshops are near where you are. Whereabouts are you based?
Yeah, so I'm near Reading, so just outside Reading. So yeah, they can be here. I have done a few other places, but when everything's kind of based in your garden, it's quite a lot of hassle to then transport it. And obviously, I think it's nice to kind of come here. I always keep the group sizes really small because I like to be able to help everybody. And I think we've set the garden up in a way that actually works really well to host people.
Fantastic. Oh, lovely. Well, is there anything else you want to add? Where can people find you? What's the name of your website?
Yeah, so the website is adventuresflowers.com, and you can find all the information and links and everything on there. Or if I may hang out on Instagram, actually. I am on Facebook, but I hang out on Instagram, and there I'm read that. So if people want to come follow and see what I'm doing on there, then feel free.
Fantastic. Oh, it's been so interesting, and I think you've remotivated me to just get my gardening gloves out and get
Oh, good, good, good. That's what we like. That's what we like to hear. So yeah. Well, no, let me know how you get on. Send me photos, and you know.
Oh, now there's pressure. Now we're
honestly, like I get photos all the time from people, and they're like, "Oh my god, my siblings have all died. What did I do wrong?" And I'm like, you know, that's what the club's about, you know, because in the club, it's like, you know, I share things that I managed to do wrong as well, because ultimately, like, life is busy, and like one day you might forget to water the seedlings, and it's been really blooming hot, and they've all died, and then you're just oh. But it's nice to have somewhere to go to share that frustration. So definitely. So powerful.
Fantastic. And I've got a little girl as well, and I do want to get her involved, and it's a fun thing to do together, isn't it, really? So
oh yeah, and they absolutely love it. So yeah, especially like fast growing things. So sunflowers are always great for littlies, and things like radish, beetroot that germinate quite quickly, that keeps their interest.
Okay.
So always the things that I grow with my little girl as well, and cosmos as well is a great one, because they're like
they're very nice. Yes, I remember these. Yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time, for sharing your wisdom. It's really interesting, and hopefully we've inspired other ladies to get outside, to get a few pots. And as we said, you know, you don't need a garden. You could just do it even in your kitchen, you know, on your windowsill. You can grow some lovely things, lovely herbs. So fantastic. Well, thank you, Kendall, and good luck with your upcoming workshops. And if anyone is interested in your membership, obviously feel free to visit Kendall's website. And good luck with the new arrival when your baby decides to come.
Will be when my first little girl arrived. I leant very heavily on my garden to keep myself balanced mentally, and I will be doing exactly the same again this time. So yeah, I'm lucky enough to always have summer babies, so the weather's good. So
brilliant.
Wish me luck. I will be guaranteed to be out there every day just to get a little bit of
brilliant. Well, good luck with it all, and thank you again for sharing all that information. It was really interesting. So speak to you soon. Bye.